All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting episode of D&D Deep Dive, the show where we dive deep into classes, subclasses, and other features of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons to help you get the most out of your choices. So, today, we are going to be continuing our look into the new options presented in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything for the Warlock. The last video went a bit longer than I intended, but it was a really interesting look into the new optional features for it. Today, we're going into the first of the new subclasses for the Warlock, the Fathomless patron. As always, I'm going to go ahead and start off by talking about a little bit of 5th edition class design. As we already know, but I will keep saying ad nauseum, 5th edition class design is every single class is designed to play very, very differently right from the beginning. And in order to do this, each class has what we call defining features. And they have to show up within the first two levels. For the Warlock, their two defining features are their Pact magic, which basically means they have significantly less spell slots, but they get their spell slots back on a short rest, and their spell slots are always the highest level they can cast up to level 5. So that means the Warlock will be casting spells at a higher level a lot more often than a lot of other classes because they have to. And it means that Warlocks are generally a lot more reliant on their cantrips than other classes. Though the ability to get their spell slots back on a short rest does give them that additional flexibility to be able to cast leveled spells on a fairly regular basis. In addition to that, they get these things called Eldritch Invocations, which are basically abilities that you choose that will permanently modify a spell or an ability. Some of them will do things like add your charisma damage to every one of your Eldritch Blast bolts, or other ones might let you be able to cast mage armor or levitate at will, with requiring no components and things like that. But they generally use these Eldritch Invocations to make permanent changes to their character and how they interact with the world, making them very kind of customizable and modular almost. So, with that being said, let us look at the Fathomless. The first thing that jumped out to me about this was definitely the fact that this this feels so much like the subclass that Ford from the second campaign of Critical Role. Like this whole class almost seems built for Ford's character when it originally started, just because it fits. You basically you basically make a pact with Cthulhu, which a lot of people think, and there's a lot to support this, that the Great Old One Pact is kind of your Cthulhu Pact, because it does have that kind of, arcane horror aspect to it. But this is literally a tentacle creature that you a tentacle creature from deep beneath the sea. Like it screams Cthulhu or Kraken or a million other things. If you think like old gods from World of Warcraft, like this is totally that kind of pact. And I think it's really interesting. So let's actually jump in to the actual abilities and features of this particular pact. So Warlocks are another one of those unique classes where they pick their subclass at level 1. And for the life of me, I kept forgetting that they did this, but because they also get their Pact boon at level 3, which kind of acts as a pseudo subclass. Again, Warlocks are just really kind of hyper customizable and modular. So they actually get 2 different things that they choose that make pretty significant changes to how they play the class. And then their Eldritch invocations will continue to kind of change the class. So you can literally have an entire party of Warlocks and have not a single one of them play this the same way. They're just that customizable. Yeah, Warlocks get to choose their pact at first level. So when you choose this pact at first level, just like the majority of other spellcasting classes, you get an expended spell list. Now, unlike some other classes where the expended spell list is spells that you just always have prepared, these are just spells that are added to the Warlock spell list that you can learn. You don't get to learn all of these. They just give you some additional options when you're choosing the spells that you know as a Warlock. And they fit with, a sea-themed character. Things like create, destroy water, thunder wave, gust of wind, lightning bolt, summon elemental, but you can only summon a water elemental. And I think this is actually my favorite expended spell list of the thing, because it adds flavor in addition to giving you a spell or adding to your spell list. Is you get access to Bigby's hand, but the hand has to appear as a tentacle. And I love that. I've already mentioned in my review for Tatasha's that I think probably the coolest part of the entire book is the section they have on how to flavor your spellcasting. Because I think that more than anything else can really let you kind of define your character and make it feel personal. Yeah, picking a different subclass or picking different spells and things like that, all those things will help you differentiate your character. But being able to, cast magic missiles as, 3 spectral chickens being flung at the target, that really makes the spell unique and customized to you personally. And so I love the fact that they go, yeah, you can cast Bigby's hand, but it's actually Bigby's tentacle. I just love that. I think it's cool. So yeah, expanded spell list. All of it makes sense. All of it's fun. All of it's cool. Lots of water and thunderstorm to the themes. Who to thunk. The other thing, you actually get 3 things at first level, but the second thing you get at first level is you get Tentacles of the Deep. As a bonus action, you create a 10-foot-long tentacle at a point you can see within 60 feet. The tentacle lasts for a minute or until you use the feature to create another one. When you create the tentacle, you can make a melee spell attack against one creature within 10 feet. On a hit, target takes a d8 of cold damage, and its speed is reduced by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. When you reach 10th level, the damage increases to 2d8. As a bonus action on subsequent turns, you can move the tentacle up to 30 feet and make another attack. And you can summon the tentacle a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You get them all back on a long rest. This is really, really interesting because I mentioned before, we talk about action economy all the time because it's so important in 5th edition. And this is giving you a guaranteed bonus action that translates to a decent amount of damage. A d8 is not a small amount of damage, and in addition to that, it also imposes a speed penalty, which again we talked about in the last video with a pendant, Pact boon, the boon of the talisman. That's what it is. The boon of the talisman, Warlock, using that reaction to push someone to 10 feet away from you, and then using this to reduce their speed by 10 feet could be incredibly useful in controlling the action economy completely. Because when you combine the talisman repel reaction with the bonus action that deals damage and reduces speed, there's a very, very good chance that you can just almost completely remove the ability for a melee attacker to get their multi-attacks off. And so I think that's really cool. And again, anytime that it gives you a use for your bonus action, that is always a use for your bonus action. There's no limitation other than, you can only summon the tentacle up to your proficiency bonus. You're going to be fine, especially since it lasts for a minute. That effectively means even when you get it at first level, you have 2 full combats where you have this tentacle before you need to take a long rest. And once you get higher up, where you have a +3 or a +4, you're generally not going to have more than maybe 4 to 6 combats in a regular adventuring day, unless they're kind of really, short little surgical things like, oh, there's 3 enemies here, or there's 4 enemies this is here. Not like full-blown combat where you're really going to want to use this a lot. So yeah, you're going to be able to use it as often as you really need to, and it's always going to be beneficial. So I like that. I think it's interesting. And the tentacles are cool. The final thing you get for first level is Gift of the Sea, which is really simple. You gain a swimming speed of 40 feet, and you can breathe underwater. Very situational. If you're not near any water, it's really not going to do you any good. But again, I've said this many times, swimming speed means more than just, you can move in water. Swimming speed means your attack rolls underwater aren't made with disadvantage. It means you can make ranged attacks and things like that without huge penalties. Having a swimming speed, if you're having combat in water, really does change the game. Yeah, as much as it seems like a minor thing, in the right situation, this is a major thing, especially if you go Pact of the Blade, or your Pact boon is the Pact of the Blade. You can really get a lot of use out of the Gift of the Sea. So at 6th level, you get Oceanic Soul. Basically, you get resistance to cold damage, and when you are fully submerged, any creature that is also fully submerged can understand your speech, and you can understand theirs. So effectively, if you try to drown someone, you can mock them while they're drowning. Obviously, it's more complicated than that, but I find that hilarious. Yeah, from a communications perspective, this can be incredibly useful. The resistance to cold damage is, again, in certain situations, it's going to be invaluable. Cold damage, I find, is not nearly as common a damage type as like fire or lightning or radiant damage. Those damaging spells specifically tend to have a lot more, but it's not an uncommon damage type. You will still deal with cold damage spells on a regular basis, just not quite as often as those. Yeah, so the resistance is fine. The ability to communicate literally with any creature as long as you're both submerged is kind of a big deal, because breaking down barriers to communication can massively change the game. especially if the creature in question is not aware that you can understand them. This would probably only ever be really effective if you were running some sort of water-themed underwater style campaign. Simply because this particular warlock, because they can breathe underwater and they have a swim speed, could go in and spy on enemies that are underwater, like maybe Kuatoa or mermaids or anything like that, and completely understand everything that they're just saying constantly. Like that's a really big deal. And if you are in negotiations with a group that lives underwater, the ability for you to understand them, especially if they don't know you have that ability, could be absolutely incredibly influential, especially if you were a Pact of the Tome warlock and you had that optional feature we talked about last time that lets you basically cast sending spells for free by writing it in the book. You literally could be sitting there just acting like you're a stenographer, just taking notes on everything that's happening. And anytime you needed to, you could just send a message going, oh, but by the way, they just said that they're going to try and betray us if we agree to this particular feature or something like that. Like, having you be able to understand your enemy when they don't know you can is incredibly useful. So, yeah. That particular ability is incredibly situational, but in those situations, it could be super useful. The other thing you get at 6th level is called Guardian Coil. Your Tentacles of the Deep, the cool tentacle you can make as a bonus action, can defend you and others, interposing itself between them and harm. When you or a creature you can see takes damage while within 10 feet of the tentacle, you could use your reaction to choose one of those creatures and reduce the damage to that creature by 1d8. When you reach 10th level, it increases to 2d8. This is kind of a game changer. The tentacle can already move. Your bonus action can move it up to 30 feet, and then you repeat the attack. This effectively means you could really use this tentacle to create kind of a really interesting melee fighting warlock, where you could just basically keep moving forward with your tentacle within 10 feet of you. You'd be able to attack the same targets. And anytime somebody had attacked you or did any damage to you, it doesn't have to be an attack. It could simply be a spell effect. It could be a trap that you accidentally trip. All it says is you or a creature you can see takes damage while within 10 feet of the tentacle. It can reduce the damage by up to 2d8, which is not a small number. I talk about concentration checks all the time because it's a big part of spellcasting in 5th edition. And being able to reduce damage from an attack by 8 could theoretically, by 16 with the 2d8, could theoretically reduce reduce the DC you have to make by 8. And that is a major difference. So yeah, that really cool, really interesting. Definitely adding a lot more versatility to that to the tentacle that you got at for first level. Yeah, super cool. At the 10th level, you get Grasping to the Tentacles. This is basically you learn Avard's Black to the Tentacles, which is a 4th level Warlock spell, and Wizard spell as well. This is specifically the Great Old One. Is the Warlock that gets access to this, and apparently it's also on the Wizards as a spell list. basically in a 20-foot square, squirming ebony to the tentacles fill it up, and any creature that enters the area or starts its turn there must make a dex save or take bludgeoning damage and be restrained by the tentacles. And if it's already restrained by the tentacles, it no longer makes saves to prevent it. It just automatically takes the damage, and then it can use its action to try and break out of it, so it's no longer just getting automatic damage. So you learn that's a spell, which is really nice. Counts as a Warlock spell, doesn't count against the number of spells you know. You can also cast it once without a spell slot, and you regain that ability after you finish a little long rest. However, you can cast it specially. Whenever you cast the spell, your patron's magic bolsters you, granting you a number of temporary hit points equal to your Warlock level. So, 10 hit points, super nice. Moreover, damage can't break your concentration on this spell. The most common way to break a concentration is through damage. That's why I talk about concentration checks all the time. It's extremely common to get rid of concentration spells by just hitting them enough that they eventually fail. That's why magic missiles tends to be such a useful ability for breaking concentration, especially if the spellcaster doesn't have the shield spell. If they have the shield spell, they're immune to magic missiles. So, but if they don't, you can cast magic missile at 3rd level and hit him 5 times. That's 5 concentration checks. It's super useful. Just anyway, but with this, you can't break concentration that way. Meaning, basically, the only way the Warlock is going to lose concentration on this spell is if they're incapacitated in some way. Something like a stunning strike would do it. Anything that gives you the incapacitated condition, reducing them to 0 hit points. But that is a lot less common than being able to stop it with just damage. So that's a really big deal. And again, Avard's Black Tentacles, it's a 4th level spell, and restrained is an interesting condition in general. Recurring speech, this is hard to say. The creature's speed becomes 0, and it can't benefit from any bonuses to speed. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage. The creatures at the attack rolls have disadvantage. And the creature has disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. Restrained is an extremely useful condition to impose. Once a creature fails their dex save when they're in Avard's Black Tentacles area, they don't get an automatic save at the end of their turn or anything like that. They just take damage and are restrained until they use their action to break out of it. This does so many different things. First, it's removing movement. That is one of the quote-unquote actions you get, is your ability to move. So any creature that relies on movement, which is anything that uses melee attacks, is going to be severely limited by this spell. In addition, you're also forcing them to waste their action to break out of it, or they're just taking automatic damage every single turn. And 3d8 damage is not a small amount of damage, especially when it can affect anyone in this area for as many turns as they remain in that area. Like, it's just massively useful. And then you also get the fact that their attacks have disadvantage. So if they decide, you know what, I don't care, I'll take the damage, I'm just going to attack. All of their attack rolls will be made with disadvantage. All of the attack rolls against them will have advantage, which is massively useful to your entire group. And the final just kind of kicker on that, all dex saves have disadvantage. So spell attacks, a lot of which use dex saves, are going to be much more of effective against them. Yeah, like it's just a useful spell that they get to cast for free once, and then from then on they can just use their spell slots to do it. Yeah, like it's really really interesting. It can't be broken by damage. The Warlock gets temporary hit points. Like it's a massively useful spell. It really fits with the theme. You can send your tentacle into there and don't have to worry about your tentacle getting trapped or anything. So you can do even more damage. Like there's no downside to this. It's just a cool ability. Finally, at the 14th level, you get Fathomless Plunge. As an action, you can teleport yourself and up to 5 other willing creatures, so total of 6 people including you, that you can see within 30 feet of you. Amid a whirl of tentacles, you all vanish and then reappear up to 1 mile away in a body of water you've seen, pond size or a little larger, or within 30 feet of it, each of you appearing in an unoccupied space within 30 feet of the others. And once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. This is super cool. First of all, this is a brilliant shit maneuver. If I was playing a Fathomless Warlock, I would constantly be on the lookout for bodies of water within a mile of wherever I was. I would constantly be looking, oh, is that water that's within a mile? Oh, is that water that's within a mile? It needs to be at least be a pond, but a pond is not that large. Depending on what part of the world you were in, a pond can be, something that's only like 10 to 15 feet across, all the way up to a very, very small little lake. Yeah, depending on what your DM defines as a pond, there's a lot of different things of water. You could even make your own with enough create or destroy waters. I mean, you create 10 gallons of water every time you cast it, and because you are a warlock, you will always be casting it at the highest level possible. So by the time you get this, you would be creating 50 gallons of water per casting, which is not a small amount of water. So yeah, you could create your own pond. You'd probably piss off a lot of people, or you just look around, and something really, really bad happens. You literally can just take your entire party and zoop, get them out of there, and be safe. On the other hand, this can be the ultimate ambush maneuver, because again, this happens as an action, which effectively means it takes less than 6 seconds. So you literally could use this to ambush enemies, and all you would really need is a scry spell, because all you need to do is see. You don't have to, and it doesn't say seen and remembered or seen and know really, really well. 1 mile away in a body of water you've seen. So as long as something, even if, you have like a picture of it, as long as it's a real place and you've seen it. And some DMs might argue on the idea of, well, you can't do it from a picture, but that's a conversation to have with your dungeon master. But a scry spell would work perfectly. You just need to be able to see it. So if you've got enemies that have camped down, next to next to a river or a lake, anything that is considered a large body of water, or a decent, a pond-sized body of water, you can literally teleport into the middle of their camp and pretty effectively get a surprise round. Like, this could be the ultimate way of getting the to drop on your opponent. So yeah. In addition to that, because you can transport yourself a mile within 6 seconds, you can only do it to places you've already seen. So it's not like you can go to a new place with it. But a mile in 6 seconds is a lot better than a mile in, I don't know, half an hour to an hour. Yeah, I mean, this could speed up your travel. Obviously, you only get to do it once per short or long rest, but you do it at the right time, and yeah, you're golden. So final thoughts. Overall, I think the thing I like about this the most is just the kind of theming that goes into this class. The Tentacles of the Deep, feature to get right at level 1, really kind of starts out with that flavor of, you're the servant of an evil kind of, kraken, squiddy, Cthulhu-like creature, and you can summon these kind of unearthly tentacles to do all this cool stuff for you. Mechanically, it's really interesting. The Guardian Coil can be a really effective way to protect yourself or your other party members as you push forward into the enemies. Grasping Tentacles is amazing. Getting free access to a relatively high-powered spell is super duper cool. And the fact that damage can't break your concentration on it is even cooler. And then Fathomless Plunge is just interesting. It can save your team's life, or it can end the bad guys by just unannounced, stepping into their area. The 1 mile away is the only kind of limiting factor to it. But that's still large enough that you're very rarely, if ever, going to have an issue using this to either ambush enemies or to get far enough away that they are no longer a danger to you. So overall, I like it. I think it's really interesting. Anyway, that is all for me today. As always, if you enjoyed this, please hit that little like button. It really does mean a lot. And also hit the subscribe button. So you get all these videos sent directly to your subscribe box. I'm currently putting out 4 videos a week, so definitely want to catch that up. In addition, hit the notification bell and turn notifications on so that you never miss any of my videos. You get a little notification anytime I upload something, and sometimes I upload things at weird times, and it's nice to be able to get them a little notification so you never miss it. In the comments below, what is your favorite deep sea eldritch horror kind of creature? Are you a fan of the Cthulhu mythos? Are you more into, the deep old ones of like World of Warcraft? Do you like, the 20,000 Under the League's kind of giant squid kraken style stuff? What do you think would be the coolest patron for this pact? Let me know in the comments below. Again, that is all for me today, and I will see you guys next time, all right? Bye-bye!